Hello, everyone. Welcome to I Love Myself Fix presents Coming Into Grace, a new podcast hosted by mother and son duo at Courtney's Fix and at Asha's Fix. And today we're joined by Robert Walker. How's your day been so far?
It's good, man. It's been a very busy one. It's interesting to say that I've been very busy, confined to one spot. Yet I've managed a way to figure that one out. Yeah.
And where are you right now?
I'm in LA. I'm in Los Angeles. Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. The city of angels. With this look on my face. Yeah. Nah. the city of angels, the city of go-getters and creators. You know.
That's it.
How long have you lived there?
I've lived in LA. Let's see, about 3 years now. Born and raised in Tacoma, Washington. Then found my way. It's always a dream of mine as a youngin'. To have a big city feel, big city dreams. And I always found myself gravitating towards LA. So I trotted down the West Coast from Tacoma, Washington to Portland, the Bay Area, got stuck because I love the Bay. Oh, I love the Bay. Yeah. It's like a piece of my heart, man. It's just like never leave. I'm like, should I move back? I know the bubble's popping. Should I move back? And now I found myself in Los Angeles for 3 years and just putting things together, and it's been an amazing journey. You know, I was talking trash when I had to look. LA is filled with beautiful people. You know.
What do you find that you enjoy most about it?
About LA?
Yeah.
Man, I just had this conversation recently. I was talking to my friend and I said, you know, the thing about LA is that there's creatives everywhere. And so obviously in creativity, especially in hip hop, you know, we always like immediately rush to competition. And so I was like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it's really hard because, you know, there's a lot of people doing the same thing you're doing. So there's a million studios in probably a 10-mile radius. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, that's kind of cool. There's a million studios in a 10-mile radius. You know, so it's like, so it's kind of like however you want to look at it. So it is a really special. It's a very special energy when you're able to constantly speak to people who are on a mission and are looking to achieve something. Mm-hmm. You know, whether, you know, if it's individualistic or it's for the greater good. I mean, I don't know, you know. Yeah, it still is good to be around that like constant energy, you know. Yeah, that's what I love about LA. That's what I like really adore about LA. And the people who are like from here are just like, I mean, they're just, you know, they're about the business. Like it has there is a Bay energy from natives. You know what I'm saying? That I do enjoy.
It's not the same, but it's like
it's not the same. It's not the same.
But they got that chill.
Yeah.
They got a little bit of that chill.
A little bit. No, I mean, they do. I mean, like Los Angeles definitely has a long history of activism, advocates. I mean, just always being a marquee in society. I mean, you know, we're talking about one of the biggest city economies, you know, in the nation. So it's the same and different, but it's not the same. I feel you though. It's not the same.
Yeah, I was gonna let y'all go for a while, but I was like, don't go too far. Don't go too far.
Yeah. No, trust me.
The one thing that you mentioned that I absolutely do love about it when I want that energy around me is everybody is trying to get somewhere different where they are than at that moment.
Exactly.
So everybody has a goal. Who knows what, you don't know what the goal is.
That's the thing. You don't know what the goal is.
Everybody, it has a goal and it is in a forward motion versus a Bay Area. There's a mix of, I'm fine right where I am, or I'm very present in myself right now. Or,
yeah, totally.
You know, And then as you move up, but there is something like when you feel, you get to, you like, it gives you, to me, it is it's almost like a false start because everybody's like, yeah, but there's a freeway running under there. So they're like,
yeah, totally.
But there's a freeway. They're moving real fast. Underneath the flip-flops.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It's like you meet people and you were like, he's going somewhere. I don't know where he's going, but I could tell he's going. You definitely meet people like that all the time. It's like, I don't know where he's going. I don't know how he's getting to where he's going or how she's getting to where she's going, but there is a sense of momentum, in people's energy, which I think, sometimes you got to just like love the fact that there is momentum, really.
Yeah. Until it's time for the pause. And do you have the opportunity, the space, and the self-focusedness to sit there and say, I need to get off the freeway.
Yeah, totally.
Because everybody got it, and that's the other side of LA, right? Because that's what a lot of those 70s songs are like.
Yeah.
It never really rains. But it rains. It rains a lot when you don't get the gig that you want. Like it,
right.
That's so, that question is there as well, is are you taking your moments so that you're getting to the next step to get to your next moment? But
totally. Well, I'll tell you what I definitely believe is that right now people are taking a lot of moments. We have like an entire world who's like taking like a pause out, and there's a vibration of everyone who's looking to figure out what humanity really means, Mm-hmm. And I've seen that in LA where people are starting to take a pause in some of the conversations because, when you're on that treadmill and then the treadmill breaks down, you know what I'm saying? Like the treadmill broke down just in the middle of the run, Right. I think it's when people are like started to look like, man, maybe I should jump off this treadmill, Mm-hmm. And so I definitely believe that we are in an interesting time that's affecting multiple cities, LA is just where I'm at,
Yeah, it's affecting the world.
Totally.
Yeah.
Entire world.
In an incredible way, if that is in fact what you're interested in seeing.
Yeah.
So you're interested in seeing it, then it turns into a cornucopia in a sense.
Totally.
How you could change your life.
Totally.
But there's always the other side of the horn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
it wouldn't be a human experience if there wasn't.
Right.
All
right. So tell us whatever you would love to share about yourself.
Woo, you opened it. Open-ended. Dog. Well, whatever I would want to say about myself, I would say that I am a creative. Mm-hmm. I am, I had a mentor once who actually asked me that question. He was like, if you had one sentence and you had to explain yourself in one sentence, what would you say? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, if you just climbed up a hill and you just had to scream it, what would you scream? And I was like, man. And then he just interrupted and he said, I'm a child of God. It's like, boom. I was like, phew.
He had his down.
I was like, you got me. I'm taking it. So in respects to my guy, Theodore Palmer, I'm going to say I'm a child of God first, and then a creative second, as a vessel from that. And then from there would be utilizing those two aspects to do as much good as I possibly can. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because if you have those two as a source, it's kind of limitless. So I mean, as far as like an individual, that'd be, I know it's kind of idealistic, but that's my idea of my life, Yeah.
Well, if you're idealistic, then you managed to get on the idealistic train on this podcast. Because that's what we're up to too. Like,
hey, ideas make the world go round. Everything that we see is a form of an opinion. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want the very best that people have the opportunity to have.
Totally.
If they can create it, whatever that might be, however you can flip that lens, flip that script, whatever it is at that moment, as you get up and you could sit there and say, well, I am in the dirt. I did get knocked down and I'm by myself, but I'm having great alone time. Maybe I can use this dirt to sort of loofah my skin and, and I sit there and say, this gives me a great opportunity to see how I can stand up. Well,
Exactly. I had a rap lyric that I have yet to use. So if anyone watches this and uses this lyric, I'm gonna be very upset. But in the lyric, I said, yes, I've had my hands in the dirt, but how else are you supposed to plant roses? So sometimes it's like, sometimes you get knocked down and you find your hands planted in some dirt. That's like where you start to dig, throw a seed in and, start to water,
Absolutely. I agree. So I sit there, so you are so strategically, so handsomely placed in front of what looks like a nice billboard behind you. What is that, may I ask?
Yes, I did strategically like, let me practice this. So that is the poster for our upcoming project, excuse my accent. It's gonna be a multimedia platform that we're launching, looking to highlight and humanize the multicultural experience. What we really want to do is create the framework and then also put the dining room table in that framework and house for people to sit down and have conversations and empower people to tell their story from a sense of truth, and we're using at the core humanity and humanism at its core. And then from there, we're going to be really exploring the idea of culture and ethnicity, from that place. And the goal really is to have people fall into a sense of the strongest truth that's in existence is that we are all moving through this thing called life together. And whether we decide to be individualistic or not, it's like a decision. But at the end of the day, we're all doing this together and we're all human beings, you know what I mean? And tomorrow isn't promised for anybody. And so how we decide to utilize that time is really on us. And what we want to do is create a platform where people can share their stories and find connectivity in the midst of that through that human lens. You know what I mean?
Do you think that people are ready to have that conversation?
If they're not ready to have it, they're about to.
Okay.
I think it's a needed conversation? Absolutely. Because what we're seeing right now is we're in the middle of a world Beirut, there's a bomb that just went off in Beirut, we're in a world where there's a lot of chaos and destruction. It's like if you have a strong family unit, and this is the way I look at it, and chaos hits, that family has two choices. They can either lean in or lean out, and the family that gets through is the family that leans in, and so if we started to develop an idea of humanity as a place of leaning in to each other rather than relying on our ideas and opinions that create separatism, then we could get through this very pressuring moment that's affecting everybody. There's not a person on this planet that's not getting affected. But it's a choice how we respond to this, and there was a choice how we responded before this even happened, I think this should just put in a magnifying glass to our characteristics as human beings, so after we get through this, we're still going to have the same choice, you know what I mean?
Well, and the choices, to me, they keep coming. And that's really the key. They keep coming at each level. And Ash and I often have this same exact discussion as we talk about our own family unit and about the forces that we have faced as a family unit. But and you don't get to, you don't always rise beautifully at
No.
each layer. And
No.
but you're right. But the question is, as you get to the next layer, and one of my favorite terms is splailing out. You may splail out, like you lose it completely. And then, but the question is, do you value why you can't continue to do that?
Right.
And you know, and learn from that.
Right.
And then have something better and bigger to give. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think that, I mean, the idea that moving through is pretty is a lie. You know, like moving through is not pretty. It's an ugly process. You know what I'm saying? And it is gritty. It's like I said earlier.
Right.
Sometimes you got to dig your hands in the dirt. It's how you plant roses. You know, and so yet the idea and the heart matter and the influence and the momentum of committing to moving through and getting on the other side is all that matters. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when everyone is committed in the same point, then we can forgive easier because we both see the end goal. You know what I mean? So then we can lift other people up. Like, yeah, you messed up. Yeah, I know you see what I see. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the most important thing and like what this is on the corner is getting people to see. I want you guys to see what we see, not what I see, what we see, you know? So that way we could just start to find ways to uplift each other towards that common good, you know? Yeah.
What's it been like growing up watching that narrative change and grow and progress? The social justice narrative, it's changed a lot now from when you were a child to presently. What's that like been watching
that? It's been amazing. There has been times of being truth, like vulnerable truth. There's been times of frustration and anger, even in the midst of a cultural revolution. And I'll say a cultural resolution this big, you know? There has been times where it's like, man, it really took you guys this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why did it take that? We've been saying this for so long. You know what I mean? So there has been that. And then there has been the beauty of watching the world change in front of all of our eyes. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when people get there. It just matters that they arrive. You know what I mean? And so now people are arriving, and there's more people who are arriving, you know? And so it's definitely like when Aubrey passed and when George passed, you know, it definitely was a very personal tragedy, you know, because I reflect on my own being, you know, and I reflect on people I know, you know, and it's like I wrote a poem, and in the poem I said, does it hurt you to see a man die, or is it the fact that he looks like me? And the reason why I said that at the beginning of the poem and the end of the poem was kind of two ways of saying, I'm a Black man, but I'm a man first, and then I'm a human being first. You know what I'm saying? And how do we get to it? How do we simplify? Why do human beings intellectualize goodness? You know what I'm saying? Like we intellectualize it. I mean, it's just like, let's stop intellectualizing just being a good human being, you know, caring about people. Well, we got to intellectualize that. I don't really need to go to Harvard to just be like, you know, I love you. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like going through that process has been very complicated watching it all unfoil, really. Yet I'm very hopeful. Not even yet. There is no yet. I am very hopeful, and excited, because the end of this day, the world is getting better and people are moving forward, and it's ugly. Oh, it's ugly. You know what I'm saying? It's ugly. Yet it is happening,
What have you noticed recently about yourself where, and then, I'll sort of give up my perspective a little bit to get there as I try to explain, but what have you noticed about yourself that might have been some layer of veneer that you didn't realize that you still had up, that maybe has had the opportunity to come down through this process? And does that make sense?
One more time.
So one of the things, like, I consider myself extremely transparent. I consider myself a very loving individual and very straightforward if I feel that the energy can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but one of the things, and I love all people. Like, I believe I'm one of those people in the world. Like, I can sit there and I'm like, really? And I mean, and I travel and I go and I sit and I talk to people, and I can still sit and look in your eyes when I know that you are looking at me with just nastiness, and then make a decision. But one of the things, but because that is my disposition, one of the things that I noticed about myself through this where we are in this resolution that is happening is I had a layer of, I will kick your ass. Like, and it was quiet. Like, I was like, oh.
You can get it though.
You know what I mean? Like, I hadn't seen it in a good minute.
Right.
I realized that I had, in many ways, was adapting as well with what was happening. And, and I've got all these friends from all these places, but I heard it murmur under me one day, like, and I was like, ooh, I didn't know that was there. And so what was beautiful is that other conversations, of course, became available. And then as I was, trying to tame that tiger a little bit, but I had to have the conversations, I could still have that conversation with some people who called me up and wanted to have a different conversation that we had never had. And that's what I mean by that veneer, because I didn't 100% know that was still, there for me.
Man, I feel like through this process, we've had to tap into a lot of patience. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely connect with you in that. That tiger of like, I'll kick you in the throat. I've tamed for like a long time, like really worked at it. Yeah. Just because, so I'll tell you a story. There was this one time I was sitting in a bar. While I was sitting in this bar, this man, and mind you, some people might be upset about this, I was sitting at the bar, and this patron called the bartender the N-word. I didn't hear it. The patron was incredibly intoxicated. And the bartender, who I was close friends with, asked me to deal with him because I'm 6'3" and I'm a big black dude and I have big hands and he can catch it in the throat. You know what I'm saying? Rather easy. And I went to him, and everyone was kind of watching this confrontation. And dude was just like incredibly intoxicated and just saying craziness. And everyone was just like, just leave, And he said something crazy to me, He said I can't remember what he said. He didn't call me the N-word, but he said something like, call me a boy, which is like, to us, that's like, it's kind of somewhat synonymous. You're being slick, but it's synonymous, Yeah. And instead of grabbing him by the throat, which was my initial response, I sat down and I said, hey, man, that really hurt. And I don't appreciate that. And it's funny because my guy, Cortland, big white dude, was like, I'm going to whoop his, right? And I told him, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to let him go home. He's going to go home tonight. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I escorted him out because of the response, it made him center down because he was looking to have that reaction.
Yeah.
Escorted him out. He got a cab. He left. And the whole bar was just incredibly silent in this moment because they were like, what just happened? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I did sit in the corner. There was a moment where I sat in the corner like, man, bruh. Yet I still look back and reflect on that moment that that was the right thing to do because I know it planted a seed in everybody else's mind of a different response and a different reaction. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like in these times when these conversations are coming up and I am having conversations with people who have been ignorant, you know, in the past, I'm just say ignorant because it's not necessarily like racist, just stupid, you know what I mean? Just unaware and unempathetic and unsympathetic, you know what I'm saying? And blocking that. A lot of people have blocked their access to that bone in their body for a long time that now they're tapping into. I've wanted to, you know, center myself even through all the emotional turmoil that's been going on and move through it and use that opportunity to have a conversation because what we actually have this power to do right now is plant seeds and probably won't get thank yous or even recognized by them, yet seeds are being planted in people's minds. And those seeds grow. And when they grow for the future. And those plants create oxygen, you know what I'm saying, for people who were not even around. So when it's something that I've had to lose, I've really had to just rely on those kind of experiences and that kind of thought and heart process and infuse it to everything that I'm doing. And we're constantly battling anger, you know? So I've had to lose that and it constantly shows up. So I would say the same thing, long story short, the same thing because it's we're constantly battling that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you tell listeners who may either have wanted a different reaction out of you or sympathize with said patron? How would you try and explain to them the level of patience and self-reflecting that it takes to reach that point? Because I found with me, I used to be a very like you light my wick,
Right.
I'm gonna burn, I'm gonna blow up, I'm gonna take everybody with me.
Everybody.
And I have to like flip that. And as I flip that, I found that I become very patient and passive. And I think that because I come off of so patient and passive, people just keep pressing my button. And they just keep pressing my button and they keep seeing how much more room they can take. And I'm someone, I'll just keep giving you room. I will just keep giving you room until I'm over here in the corner, balled up, and I'm really too big to be balled up in the corner.
Right.
So after a certain amount of time, you step on my toe and I'm gonna look at you funny.
Yeah, totally.
So can you explain to our listeners what that process looks like in our mind?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say is I would say that never take patience as passive because patience isn't passive. You can be aggressively patient. You know what I'm saying? And there's a strong power in it. You know what I'm saying? There is a point to prove by loving. You know what I mean? and there is an empowerment in it, and there is a, like, say that experience, there is a power in saying, no, we're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? And saying, yes, you're going home. You should probably go home now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so there is a way to be assertive in those moments. I don't look at it as something as passive at all. I don't want you to look at it as passive at all. You should look at it as a very strong power, and never feel like you're in the corner. Stand your ground in the middle of it. You know what I'm saying? There's like a strong sense of stoicism of being able to make a decision and commit to that decision on, this is how this is going to play out. And it's not playing out based around everyone who's around you. It's playing out by what you've already committed that this experience is going to play out as. You know what I'm saying? And when you have like, when you plant your ground and you plant your feet in that commitment and in that, assertiveness, that empowerment, people will move around you. Because if you can't move something that refuses to move, they'll move around you, and they might get angry moving around you. You know what I'm saying? It's the biggest thing that I could think of, and one of my, obviously, like, one of my influences is MLK. And I feel like a lot of times people play MLK as if he was like passive. He wasn't passive. He was a savage. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was very meticulous, and he knew what he was doing, and he was a warrior, and he chose to use love as his weapon. That's the way I look at it. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to that entire process, from like the beginning to the end, it's really just making a decision. You know what I'm saying? We're not to be pushed over. You know what I'm saying? We're not. And the thing about it is human beings, we find ways to rise. You know what I'm saying? We're just powerful. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I mean, I would say that's what I would say to that. That was a dope question, though. I'll tell you that. That was a really dope question.
So I have one. I want to flip the energy a little bit, and you're welcome to answer this any way you like. So, how do you breathe music, Rob?
How do I breathe music? Well, lately I've been turning secular songs into gospel ones. Happened this morning. I've been, I write. I've been producing. I work hard to listen to as many different influences as possible. I mean, my playlist is kind of crazy. It's a little bit wild. Be like, bro, you listen to that? Yeah, I do. You know? I'm really excited to launch this song and use it as a platform and a launching pad to release some of my personal stuff. Because music is always a form of communication. I would like to use my music as a communication of emotion and vulnerability and transparency. And I used to always say this, even like a long time ago, that entertainment and music is either an escape from reality, or it's like, especially in hip hop, it's like news. It is reality, you know? And I was like, I want to be an escape back to reality. So a lot of the personal music I am creating and releasing has very strong upbeat tones with very strong messages. Right now I've been breathing music like just through, excuse my accent, because it started from a song and we said, let's make this song into a movement, you know? And so since I'm constantly working on that, that's been, you know, the way I breathe music. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions for us?
Say what?
Do you have any questions for us?
What made you guys start this podcast?
Ama? Since you gave me the look. You know, it's funny, we've been asked this question many times, and we never say the same thing. Have you noticed that?
It's always the same thing, but it's just never said the same way.
So for me, the most important thing in life is how you love yourself. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Point. There's nothing else on the table at that point. So if you don't love yourself, all kinds of stuff shows up. It comes around the corner. It greets you in the bed. It finds you at work. All those kinds of things. And so for me, this podcast is about giving an opportunity and a space to be able to reach through the screen for me and to be able to hear how people love themselves and for them to walk away and know that I love them. And for me, that I'm blessed and I've won.
Totally.
And then secondarily, with it being focused on specifically Black men, it's been interesting watching my non-Black friends react to the podcast, because with so many of them, we may never have had a race conversation prior to this. But it's been also lovely to see how much they've embraced it. And I think they've embraced it because we have never had those conversations. But for me, having grown up with such a strong family unit and never wanting, I dated this guy once who was white. And I remember him turning around to me, he said, "You really like being Black?" Like he said it, like, that's vanilla and strawberry ice cream with sprinkles. Like he said it. And I was like, yeah. He said, no. Like, you really like it. I was like, yeah, never thought about being anything else. Like,
Right.
And, and that's the way I grew up. And so I love just the crap out of my parents. I mean, I had really great parents, and I was super close to my dad. And what I have noticed, especially in this last 15 years, looking at many of my peers who are just phenomenal men, who I believe that the world has pushed them in a corner. And a lot of people would never notice that they were in a corner because they're still getting things done. They're still accomplished. But I can see that their spirits have been pushed in a corner. And they don't seem to have many opportunities for somebody to sit there and just say, you're a badass and I love you.
Right.
And that's what this is for me. So his answer is,
maybe.
Yeah, but that's what it means to me.
The podcast for me is a space to show how Black men are not just Black men. We are a collective of individuals. And no matter how far you try and spread us apart and how well you may think you are separating us, that we will always come back together.
Totally. Absolutely. That was a mic drop. Yeah, absolutely. So what are your guys' plans for this? Like, how do you see it growing? And what would you guys like to get out of it completely?
For me personally,
not the idea, like really, this is what I really want. You know what I mean?
So for me personally, I want this thing to wrap the world. Like, I want the dude in like Reunion Island that might have been the only Black dude like in the corner of the market. I want the guy from Cote d'Ivoire. I want the dudes in Sri Lanka, because yes, I do consider like Sri Lankans. I mean, they may be like, what? I don't know why I love Sri Lankans. So, but I really want to see this go boom. And I want to hear people's perspectives, no matter where they are, because there are a lot of people who live on this earth. They don't wake up thinking they're Black. That doesn't mean they're not. That just means that isn't what the world is pressing on them. Totally. But there's still a story there that still connects in some other way. And so that's what Courtney wants. Courtney wants to woo, woo, woo.
Right.
the world.
I love that. And that hits with what he said as far as like showcasing the complete spectrum. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The entire spectrum of what it is to be Black, really.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's a spectrum. It's not like it's a spectrum. We're not a monolith. You know what I mean? So
No,
yeah.
no. And for me, ultimately, like my entire company is actually based upon humanity. It's based upon humanity learning how to look at their reflection and be able to say, I love myself. And that has no color to it. So that is what the core of my company, and that is its mission. But this particular podcast for now is just to, if we're going to acknowledge that there has been, that slavery has affected our genetics, that it has affected our, mental health, that it is, that it permeates every aspect of your life that you either inadvertently or deliberately allow. So then if that's the case, then as you are trying to flower and blossom, you're always trying to do this, like the earth that you talk about. You're still trying to get through that earth.
Mm-hmm.
People who are trying to get through the earth should be told that they are loved by
Totally.
somebody else.
Totally.
For me, that's that's a different place, and it's a special place. It's just simply very special and different to me. So,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't eclipse any other love that I have for anybody else. But it's just, it's still, still a little special.
Absolutely. And needed. Yeah. All right, your turn. Bow.
For me, I feel like that the last part of the issue that we're dealing with is that people are either ignoring the role that they're playing or that they think that they have no role. And I want to make everyone accountable because everyone is accountable.
Truly.
Everyone is accountable.
Truly.
And so, and we also get stuck thinking that there's only one type of person. There's only one type of Asian man or Asian woman. There's only one type of Black man or Black woman. There's only one type of white man or white woman.
Totally.
We still intermix between all the races. And
Right.
yet we still live in different parts of the world and may be genetically of a different background. And so I feel that through this podcast, by showing that there's so much beauty and excellence in our culture, in our world, that it will allow others to come forward with this same energy. I'm not saying that you come forward trying to parade and do all that. I'm just saying we are here. This is what we are, and this is what we stand for. And that's it. And if you're with us, then please, otherwise move.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you just like you said some excuse my accent. It's like exactly this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, you said that beautifully. Like I was like, is this recorded? I might take that. Yeah, that's amazing. It's like because the when we founded this concept and the song and what it stands for and everything and how it's going to grow is based on that same idea that it's we come in as this human being who's set with all these different experiences and we have this uniqueness to us, and celebrating my heritage, traditions, my uniqueness, my personality shouldn't inflict on someone else's celebration. You know what I'm saying? We can celebrate each other in our like personal, personality and what we bring to the table. The same. It doesn't have to be this separate division thing. So when people say the world's divided and everyone's like, yeah, the world's just so divided, it's like, yeah, that shit's just a choice. And we're just choosing to be divided. You know what I mean? Because we could just equally just be celebrating each other and asking, what's your story? You know what I mean? And that's, I don't know, I feel like this is a beautiful thing. This is why reality TV became so popular. It's because reality is actually more entertaining than something you could write up. Now, the funny thing is, they turned reality TV and they wrote some shit up, and now it's not entertaining anymore. But at the same point, it's like, you know, us as individuals carrying our own story and carrying a celebration behind it. And as Black people, I mean, we just have, we're griots. We have just so much of a story to tell, you know what I'm saying? And like our heritage and who we are naturally, we just like can't help ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's like, it's just our spirit, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's not to say that, you know, given opportunity that we cannot learn as like human beings together. So it's like, even with, excuse my accent, last thing I'll say, because sometimes, you know, people can get it confused. And what I'm interested in is having the dialogue when it comes to whiteness and Blackness. It's like, whiteness is a color, but are you Italian? Are you Irish? Are you, you know, like, let's celebrate our truth, not this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can we connect with each other from actually learning and diving into each other and our story?
Right.
And just move forward and not really make it, we just, like I said, it's like, we don't gotta make this complicated. It's not complicated.
It's not in any way.
Well, I just want to say one thing about that, and then which goes into the treasure of who you are in meeting you and the treasure of who you are. Because it's not complicated for you two.
Right.
But get that just as every puzzle has a piece, different spirits bring different things to the table, whether it's compassion, empathy, all that kind of thing. But I'm saying all that because what makes your mission important, what makes this mission important and others, is that there are people who actually do need it demonstrated. And where, you know, people always say, well, if you just put a few little kids together, they don't see such and such. And I don't, but they do see, but it doesn't mean the same. So, but instead, there's still a spirit in every one of those children that is coming with something that they're bringing to the table. And they may bring to the table of architecture. And somebody else may bring to the table unity. And somebody else may bring to the table spitefulness. Like,
right, but I feel that when you, like, for example, it says, excuse my accent.
Right.
What he's brought to the table,
right,
he's taken care of.
correct.
So then it gives you the space to dawn and reflect on what you've done. And I feel that that is what African Americans and Black people have had to do so much. We've had to give a lot of space for people to realize where they're wrong. And we've had to do that by stating or showing that we went wrong or did something iffy somewhere else.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
But my thing is, why can't we come to the point now? Everyone, I don't understand how everyone doesn't understand that something has happened. Everyone on this planet understands that something has happened. If you don't, you're ignoring. If you don't, you're ignoring it. And that's all I have to say. I've been here for 20 years. As soon as I learned what language was, I knew what it was about.
Right.
I'm not saying no, I'm saying 100% yeah. No. I'm saying 100% yes. And then I'm also saying there's still a door over here.
I know there's still a door over
there. And that
there.
door is, but all I'm saying is you all are presenting it for the people who have difficulty with the door for them to be able to see it. Exactly. But all I'm saying is it is not just like that for them.
Yeah. It's
present that door.
It's interesting because I I recognize exactly what both of you guys are saying. And it's so funny because before this call earlier, I had a call with one of my mentors, Jay, and we were talking about this. He's in his 50s, white male, and we're conversating about, excuse my accent. He's like, yo, you're building a community. This is dope. You're going to have to walk people through to get them to understand like what you're doing. You know what I mean? And he said pretty much what you said. He goes, Rob, there was a study that was done where they had multiple, shout out to Jay, because he's gonna watch this now. Now I know he's gonna watch this. But they had multiple groups all working together for a project, and they hired an actor. And he said that that actor's job was just to be disruptive, like you said, just bring spite. And he said, he's like, I don't remember the exact number, but say we have 7, right? So out of all the 7, the whole thing became disruptive just because it's one person. You know what I mean? And the only time it didn't become disruptive is because the person who stepped up as a leader didn't challenge the person, but walked them through with questionings and processes, and was kind of like, well, why do you think that? And how do you feel about it? And then got them to the place, and that in itself allows everybody else to see that process. Correct. So then the core didn't become disruptive anymore, because instead of just falling in line with the disruption, they all decided to go on this line moving forward. Mm-hmm. So I do think that there is a strong reality of, people just don't get it. And the reality of it is they just don't. And it is going to take a lot of conversation. And this goes back to earlier in our conversation earlier, where it's like, and it is going to be frustrating because we've been doing it for so long. So I understand the anger, where it's like, man, we've been doing this for so long. You know what I mean? Yet this is like, I believe the race never ends, but as far as like our life and in my life, we're definitely on the 20-yard line. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like we muster up the strength to push through from a place of compassion and love. And still, now it's like, okay, well, now I got your ears, so let's like break this down. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when, something did happen and everyone did watch and the world watched, like it's not an American thing, it's a worldwide thing.
Correct.
There's still a lot of people who are choosing to have a stronghold, just like sticking the flag of ignorance in the ground, just like bah! You know what I'm saying? Yet when we decide to lean on, I didn't ask you if I can cuss, so I've been like just totally just.
No, I thought I really watched my mouth. No. I thought I'd been doing really great.
No, because there's like so many times, usually I'd be cussing. But so there's when we decide to say that people are completely inherently evil and not harp on just the goodness and then just try to spread it. If we decide to just relax on that, then we're fucked. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because we're just gonna keep spinning our tail in humanities and keep doing what it's doing. And the reality of it is that the stakes are too high at this point because there's too many kids that are dying. There's too many families that are separated. There's too many kids not getting an education, and it's getting worse. And the education system's gonna be crazy now because now we have like hubs where people can afford education, some people can't. We don't know what's gonna happen. Like if we're not going to lean in on right now, we're setting ourselves up for not a black problem, not a white problem, not an Asian problem, not an Indian problem, not a Sri Lankan problem. We're setting ourselves up for a human problem, like just straight across the board. You know what I mean? And so, which it always has been. But,
That's what I mean. That is what prejudice is.
Exactly. It always has been. I'm just saying, in the likes of COVID, I really appreciate the fact that you guys did not say that word this whole time. Oh my God.
It really didn't want to.
Yeah, exactly. I said it. I'm sorry.
Wow. We won't get you.
So what would you say to them? And in that air of compassion, in that air of love, what would you say to them? The thing that I do, whenever I meet someone who's really trying to, what I say is beat my love. You can't beat my love, but you can continue to try.
Right.
What would you say to someone like that?
You're trying to, one of the things I'd say, you tried to do this, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
I tell people that, but they don't.
Yeah. It's like, this is kind of rooted in something bigger than us. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And sometimes, I'd say that forgiveness is a forward motion. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
It's not a stagnant one. And you have to forgive in motion while directing. I think that people are angry, upset, and confused, and it's okay to be.
Absolutely.
And so it's okay to be angry, upset, like, and giving people like space to be that,
Mm.
while staying firm. Never mistake the kindness for weakness, because it's definitely not weak. You know what I'm saying? Like, we come from warriors. I mean, like warriors, you know? And yeah, so I think, I believe that's what I would say to someone, which I've had this happen early on, and I know I'm going to get it so much more, of individuals who are going to just combat the idea of unity, because the reality of it is people innately believe that individualism is safe, because if I got my own, then I'm good. And I get it, yet it's not true, you know, because we're only as good as the person next to us. This is perfect time, man. It's a true story. Part of the experience of doing anything as anybody is you come through like very strong moments of just like, oh my God, this is killing me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I doing? I got to get back to my why. I got to get back to my why, you know? And I pulled up a MLK speech, because I was like, I just got to hear some truth. And I listened to some Tony Robbins. I put up MLK speech, and I just like zoomed through. And the first thing I heard, which is why I'm like mentioning MLK, because this just happened, but zoomed through, and the first thing I heard at like 7 minutes, it wasn't I Had a Dream speech. So I was like, that's tired. I want something new, you know? Well, not new, but I want something different. That'll be one of his last speeches. And he said, our challenge is to learn to live together as brothers or die as fools. He said, we are all threaded through a single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. And I was like, man, that was potent. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. And so that's inescapable. It's like you cannot escape it. That he said, then at the end, he said, for me to be what I need to be, I need you to be who you need to be. For you to be who you need to be, I need to be who I need to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality. And I was thinking about this today too. And I was like, the most important thing out of all of that is the word be, you know? And sometimes you have to allow people to be and understand the process of growth. And the process of growth is definitely not on our terms or my term or your term or anyone's terms.
No.
Does that make sense?
That
No,
makes total sense.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. I've actually struggled with that because I'm such an empath. I can look at someone for the first time ever meeting them, and I'm sure they can feel it, but I know what's not sitting right in them, and I immediately try and help them with that. And typically, they accept or are wary of my help in the beginning, but I'm able to, with my energy, allow them to know that I'm only there for their benefit. But sometimes people continue to really fight me. And I think that sometimes I feel that it's really my test to try and beat them. But then I have to realize that they're also like, I don't want to say they're trying to trick me, but like, I can't keep extending myself that far when they know they're not ready. So that, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with a friend, and I definitely want to tell you this because I really feel your spirit, like totally 125%, not lying. I had a conversation with a friend, and she has a very similar spirit to you. You know what I'm saying? Where she naturally will give. It's like she can't help it. It's like I even tell her, stop giving me advice. You know what I'm saying? Like I just want you to listen. Like, stop it. I told her, I was like, for a week, give no one advice. You know what I'm saying? It's like, shout out to Tina. She will now listen to this too. No, but like, so I told her, I said that sometimes you have to realize that your presence is a present. Not to sound very Kanye-ish, but it's like you're giving just by being there. You know what I'm saying? And that is enough a lot of the time. You know what I'm saying? And that your natural essence will pour no matter what. And whether it might not seem like it sometimes, but people are still intaking it. You know what I'm saying? People are still getting that energy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that it's something where you have to constantly feel that you need to have this battle to push someone forward because you're doing it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So then the only conflict that's happening is between you and you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, there are times that's just enough.
That's just enough.
That was, that's just enough. There are times you meet someone, and one of the things I love, is I'll look at someone and I'll smile, and I watch their whole countenance change. That was it. That was it. It's over. I may never see you again. And same for me, and go out and someone will sit there and it's as simple as like, your dress is pretty. And I was like, whoa, like I just got like 10 more petals today. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. No, totally.
But it is that same understanding, going back to your word, be. And if there are times when that's all you're supposed to do, and Ash will do that, you've radiated enough. You've given all the energy that's needed for that day. And that may be all that they need, or that they're not ready to receive it. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And that's it. And then, and then you got to walk away.
You got to walk away because if whether they were ready to receive it has nothing to do with whether you were ready to give it or not. You know what I'm saying? And has nothing to do with whether they felt it. They might not have been ready to receive it, but they still felt it. And they might not feel it at that moment, but when they feel it again, they might be ready. And they're like, wow, this actually seems familiar. Correct. You know what I'm saying? Correct. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I would say for sure. And be comfortable with that. Because sometimes, the most important thing to protect on this, my dad told me this one day. We were sitting, my dad's a motivational speaker and a poet, right?
Okay.
And like one day, like we were all sitting, I remember it was in high school, and I had like all the homies over, we're all kicking it, we're arguing, we're talking about Illuminati, we're talking about like, oh, this and that, and we're going in on conspiracy theory, aliens are real, I'm telling you, and we're just going off, and we're like, no, they definitely killed MLK, oh, they killed Malcolm X, we're just going off, you know what I'm saying? And my dad comes in and he's like, shut up, shut up, and he just like yells at us, right? Then he leaves the room and everyone's like, oh man. And he walks back in and he brings out this big whiteboard. And he's like, name some of your favorite people who ever existed. And I was like, who are like the most important people you could think of? We're like, okay, well, MLK, Malcolm X, Mother Teresa, Gandhi was pretty dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just throwing names out. And then he puts you on the thing. And then he goes, out of all of these people, who is the most important person on here? And I was like, oh, we were all like, I don't know, MLK, civil rights, I don't know, Gandhi starved himself. So we started like just arguing. And he goes, look, man, I'm going to cuss, okay? Real quick. You bleep this. This is what my dad said to me. He looked at all this. He said, look, nigga, all them motherfuckers is dead.
That's
They
correct.
all dead.
That's correct.
This is the only person still alive.
That's
So
right.
the most important person on this paper, and you put a you around it.
That's
And he was
correct.
like, then he looked at us and he said, so what are you going to do? Then he took his little whiteboard and walked out the room. And I'll always remember that, because at the end of the day, it's like, to bring it back to what we were saying, at the end of the day, you have to protect you, because if you don't protect you, then you can't give what you are supposed to give. You know what I'm saying? So it's like knowing your purpose, planting in that, and then knowing that you are enough, knowing that your presence is enough, knowing when to extend yourself or when not to extend yourself, because you have a mission to do, and you can't sacrifice that mission for someone else, because you know your mission is for the greater good.
That's correct. Knowing when to pour and knowing when to stop pouring.
Yep, I got a heavy hand.
Ashi. So with that said, all right, Rob. So one word. What's one of your favorite things about yourself? One word.
I thought it was 3.
Okay, we're gonna give him 3. All right, fine. We'll give him 3.
Wait, what? I'm confused. I'm just gonna let you do it.
All right. I'm gonna see. He can have 2. My yada yada.
I thought it was I love myself.
Oh no, we're gonna.
I'm going to say 3.
Okay.
I'm going to say I choose us.
All right. There you go. Well, that is perfect, because therein is the favorite rub for this conversation. So what we would love for you is to lean into the camera, stare at it really hard, and say, I love myself.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Okay.
I love myself. Really love myself.
We love you too, Rob. You've been beautiful.
Love you too.
So beautiful
so
meeting you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on this.
Yeah.
You guys are my first podcast interview as we kick off Excuse My Accent. So this is something that will always be very dear to my heart and very special. And I really appreciate this time. Truly.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So on you, Bubba.
Oh, I love myself.
Can I do one thing first?
Absolutely.
Can you guys lean really close to the camera and say, excuse my accent?
Hold on. I want to get it together. All right. Excuse my accent.
Excuse my accent.
Back. Okay.
All right. We want to thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Coming Into Grace, knowing who you are and loving us for it. See you next time. Thank you so much, Rob. We love you.
Thank you so much.